Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library. And today I have another great guest on. And the reason why I think this is a great guest is not only is he an amazing doctor, but he is also very active in the content that he shares and really helping not just in his, I guess say in the office and in his practice, but really providing insight for executives in the area of health, because we know as business leaders and entrepreneurs, that's an area that oftentimes gets forgotten about, but it's something that we need to bring back into perspective. So welcome to the show, Dr. Brian Doorek.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And if you want to hear about business and you want to hear about your typical stuff, you probably came to the wrong place, because we're going to talk about stuff you probably never had on this show before. So let's just get to it, and we'll talk about things that are in my lane, but probably out of the standard of what you've had on your show before. So I think it'll be exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I came across your profile because I saw some of the videos and the information you were sharing on LinkedIn. Now, I will say, I don't see medical doctors posting on LinkedIn. What kind of spurred that for you?
So I think the concept of sharing online has a multi-tiered approach to it in my eyes. Obviously, for years, I've been dabbling, had a little bit of Facebook for my local medical practice in South Florida. Didn't really engage too much in it, never was an Instagram. Spent maybe personally in my own life about 1 week on Facebook, and I realized it was probably the greatest time suck ever created by man. So I was like, forget this. But I did have a Facebook page for my business. And, there's a story, I got involved with some people. They wanted to do some diet and nutrition program. And I saw that LinkedIn had like really a potential to connect with people of a higher bandwidth than the mass market. And I started getting involved in LinkedIn. And then I realized the power of the reach. Suddenly, I'm able to communicate and share with people outside the scope of my local medical practice. So listen, I got 17 years of training, from going to college in Stony Brook to finishing my fellowship at University of Miami, having been in cities like New York and Cambridge and Boston and Tel Aviv and all over the place. And then back, like I said, finishing at University of Miami with my GI and liver training. That was 17 years from college to the finish. It's a lot of years.
Wow.
And then I've been in practice for 15 years after that. And I'm still working and, have a medical practice here, which is, thank God, healthy and growing still. So a combination of decades of medical education and knowledge is plain vanilla for me. It's black and white. It's bread and butter. And the stuff I deal with every day in my world, what I do every day, and dealing with things like bloating and heartburn and rectal bleeding and constipation and hemorrhoids and abdominal pain, is really a life-affecting or quality of life-affecting issues people deal with day to day. So without having to wait 3 to 4 weeks to get an appointment to see me or another DI, without having to wait in a waiting room, without having to make a $50 copay, I can give information on things I share with my patients easily on the platform, have a broad reach. I'm reaching people now all over the world, and it doesn't cost anything for me, and it helps people. So that's like, that's the give.
Gotcha.
It's almost criminal. It's criminal for people of my level of training or area of expertise not to share on the platforms. I mean, listen, I like bunnies, I like ducks, I like puppies, I like all that stuff, but I don't post it on LinkedIn. Gotcha. And I like, all the cute little smiley stuff, but that's not where my energy is. My energy is providing value, providing content that has meaning, providing things that improve quality of life of people. And that's my lane. Colon cancer screening, health, diet, nutrition, balance, moving more now into patient advocacy and health navigation, working with individuals. You see, working with individuals has been really rewarding in terms of actionable accountability, but working with groups and leadership teams has been like exhilarating. And we'll talk more about that, but this is my lane. This is what I do.
Gotcha.
This is how I take my world and share it with social media.
Awesome. Now, I guess in all of your medical training, do they really prepare you to have your own practice, or is that something you had to kind of learn on your own after you finished the basic medical training?
I think talking about criminal, it's almost criminal that in all the years of medical school, we don't have a business course. At least I didn't have it when I was in the curriculum. I think it's criminal that high school students graduate without having a basic course in basic finance, checking, saving. Like my kids have graduated high school. They're learning now, but they should learn about what's a 401k, what's a S&P, what's the Dow, what's compounded interest. What would it mean if I was 20 years old and started investing $50 a month, month after month after month, and look back at it 50 years later? Like, mind-blowing formulas of simplicity that we don't learn about until much later in life. So no, I had no business training. I had no understanding of it all, and I'm still learning and growing through constant working at it with my own coaching and learning from people and reading and throwing enough stuff against the wall. But no, it's a shame. So yeah, business, they missed the boat on that. And nutrition, they missed the boat on that. Those are two areas they just don't teach you in med school. You little novel concepts, right?
No, I would say no. If they missed the boat in med school on nutrition, I would say everyone that's listening, I mean, they're working in business, they're executives, they're leading companies, they never got that either. So when it comes down to nutrition, what are some of the things you share with, with people about, making sure that they, have a good perspective on that?
I think perspective in terms of nutrition needs to be the same perspective in terms of life. Listen, life is short, no matter how you cut it. It's a quick trip on this planet. So how you want to focus your energy and how you want to consume your time is really your choice. I think this best concept in nutrition is to keep it simple and balanced. I'm not weighing my food. I'm not counting my calories. I'm not getting obsessive. And believe me, doctors, me, type A, perfectionist qualities, obsessive qualities, you want that for your doctor to be obsessive and compulsive. I can't function that way in my own life in terms of eating. So I'm looking at broad strokes. I'm looking at portion sizes for my, for my protein or for my carbohydrates, just like going for fist-sized portions. So I'm gonna put spaghetti on my plate. I'll put rice on my plate, but I'm not going for like I used to. Listen, I used to go salads, nuts, hummus, carrots, raisins, all this good stuff. But I wasn't thinking like, oh shit, that's carbohydrates, that's sugar, just adding. So trying to look much more in broad strokes. Keep it simple, keep it rounded, protein, carbohydrates, less size of fats. They're okay to eat, just go in portions. So balance, portion control, keeping it simple, keeping it balanced. That's what I look for. I'm not looking for extremes. I'm not looking for extreme fads and 15, 16, 18, or 16-8 intermittent fasting, keto, this, all meat, all Atkins. That's just not me. It's not what I recommend for me or my patients. I'm more of like, live your life in balance. Mm-hmm. Find what works. Example, breakfast today. What was my breakfast today? I'm just thinking back. So I had 2 pieces of Ezekiel bread with some olive oil spray. So I got some fat and some carb. Threw in like 4 eggs, 2 yolks only, or 3 yolks with eggs. So I got some protein and had some fresh green kale for some greens. Had a little bit of butter on the Ezekiel bread for more fat. So it was like fat, carb, protein, greens. That was my breakfast. Gotcha. Fulfilling, yes. Simple to make, yes. Inexpensive to make, yes. Definitely better than going to Starbucks and getting the banana bread and the frappuccino and all the other stuff. So you understand what I'm saying? It's keep it simple, keep it balanced, think about broad strokes, and not get obsessing compulsive about the diet. It's just not where my energy is. I don't have energy to go down that road myself.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. Now, when it comes down to, executives and business leaders, I mean, they tend to have some of probably the least amount of healthy habits a lot of times because they're just focused on the grind of their business, whether they're trying to grow the business, they're trying to expand it or launch it. I mean, when you come across business, I guess you say, high performing executives or business leaders, are there any kind of pointers or things that you point out to them from a health standpoint or things that they should be doing?
Yeah, I think, I heard Tony Robbins once say, you don't need to be the richest man in the graveyard. It's not going to do you any good. And it's kind of an important thing to think of. So yes, we're all, at least at a certain level, at least the circles that I'm in, high achievers, high benchmarks, pushing it, growing, expanding, trying to get everywhere, quicker, faster, more. But, like I said, the actionable accountability is what I find to be the most effective. So yes, when I work with individuals and these areas are not focused on, that's where the accountability comes in. Because I know when people are checking in with me and saying and sharing with me how they're eating, and they know, like, man, I got to show Dr. Doorek what I'm eating for lunch, or I want to show him what I'm eating for lunch, or I'm sharing with my leadership team in a private group setting what I'm eating, then you're a little bit more accountable to how you're doing. So yes, in terms of executive, people are aware of nutrition. People are aware that they function better, they have to eat better, exercise more. Doing it is where the challenge is, and that's where accountability comes in. And that's where I use the terminology actionable accountability. Listen, you know it and I know it. This whole Zoom life, this whole corporate thing is not working. There's been articles in LinkedIn about it. There's been articles in the Wall Street Journal about it. You got an executive team sitting home on the couch in sweatpants eating Cheetos all day with dogs barking, kids off the wall, no school, spouses freaking out. There's no way that your individual accountability to your own health and diet and nutrition is challenged. And the leadership, the cohesiveness of that leadership team is at fray. There's no way the leadership team is working at the same cohesive manner. And the problem for me in that is that you have hundreds, if not thousands of employees depending on the success of this business for their livelihoods, their families, and the subsequent people that depend on you. So it is important now more than ever to have individual accountability in terms of your own health, diet, nutrition, exercise, balance, and to have a stronger sense of cohesive accountability as the leadership team as everyone's sitting home in sweatpants on their Zoom meetings on the couch. Mm-hmm. Not all businesses are home still, but a lot of businesses are still shut down. From my understanding, these corporate, towers of 10,000 employees, and they're just not bringing people back. Mm-hmm. And not all of them are going to go back. I mean, I'm down in Miami, so I don't know how it is all over the country, but the point is, it's definitely a challenge time that we're in now. And it's choices and decisions that we make in this time on how we come out of it, mm-hmm. and how we play from it. And is this the end of of what we know? Is it the beginning of something new? Is it a hybrid? Is it just making it better? I mean, I watched the NBA the other night. I mean, I'm sitting there watching the bubble, like, wow. And then impressive adaptation. Impressive, mm-hmm. Just blown away. When I started looking at the details, the nuances, seeing Pat Riley in the upper box and seeing how they structured it, and even ESPN, how they're holding the camera with the 6 feet. Mm-hmm. It's just a brilliant sense of human adaptation to a situation that we didn't anticipate. Okay. And I think that in our individual lives and in the lives of a leadership team, how we adapt to the current situation and pay it forward to our employees and to our business is really a choice and decision.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Now, speaking of the work that you do with groups, work you do with one-on-one and leadership teams. So if, there's an executive team or group of leaders that are looking to, connect with you and to, get involved and hire you on the accountability and the health side, how can they find you online and on social media?
I mean, my focus is I have a medical practice. I'm an mm-hmm. active practice physician. I do have space in the areas of executive coaching, and I do that selectively and by application only. And I really kind of selectively choose people and groups that I feel are a good fit for me and for them. I kind of preferentially do hold my LinkedIn connections to a priority in that. I have, some sense of a vetting process through that. It's through LinkedIn. You can connect with me. I have a website, exechealthcoach.com, but this is not about my website or my business or people reaching me this time. This time with you now is about sharing value to the listeners. What I do online, what I do offline, what I do in my own life is really about trying to always stay focused on service and mm-hmm. giving. And it always comes back to me then, in multiples. Gotcha. The spaces I'm in terms of working with individuals outside my practice, because I have my patients and I have this, I have my nonprofit in Miami, I have other things I do, but it's really in areas of two things. One is, individuals and groups in terms of actionable accountability, focused on health, diet, and nutrition, in these areas. And I've gotten really excited about a space that I got into of patient advocacy. And it's really something we should talk about for a few minutes because it's become clear to me, based on my experience, based on what I see in my world, based on what I've been doing now for decades, is that the patient, in a harsh reality sense, in a harsh truth of it, is in the low status position when they're in the room with the physician. You know, you're waiting in the waiting room, you're waiting for the appointment, you're waiting, holding labs, you don't know what they mean. The doctor walks in the room and you're like, you know, hi, and like within 90 seconds, the doctor's looking at the computer, typing and taking questions, and immediately knows where you're at. And the reality is, as I said, the harsh reality is you're in a low status position. Maybe you go to Google, maybe you have some information, but imagine a scenario when the doctor walks in and the patient's sitting there and it's like, hi, and it's like, oh, hi, Dr. Smith. I'm really happy I was able to find time to see you today. I know you spoke to Dr. Doorek about me already. Here's my medical history, and hand a one-page medical summary, the way the doctor wants to see it, the way the doctor needs to see it. And obviously, you know, you probably have that already, and you'll ask me some questions, and obviously you want to examine me. But before we do that, let me let you know what the outcomes and results I want from today's encounter are. So the truth of the matter is, like, you don't walk into a business meeting, you don't walk into a sales meeting without knowing your pitch, your slide deck, your prospectus, your numbers, your buyer, your seller. It's like extreme preparation.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell do you walk into a meeting with a doctor when the product on the table is your health and not be even remotely prepared for it?
No, wow.
And that's what goes on. And that is the role of patient advocacy. When your world is flipped, when winter's here, when you're dealing with an acute medical crisis or, you know, a chronic condition, and you're just spinning your wheels, doctor to doctor, and your quality of life sucks, then it's like, you know, what's more important than getting to the best and getting the answers and outcomes you want quicker, faster, easier, better? And that's what I do also with select individuals. That's something I work now with wealth management teams, presenting and sharing this with wealth management teams, not as a ask. I'm not talking to a wealth management team at a big investment firm as like, here, I'm asking you for clients. It's more of a give. Like,
Yeah.
Listen, Kobe, MJ, these guys know how to play ball. They're on the court. They know where the net is. They got the ball. But they just got Phil Jackson sitting there telling them how to play the game. Because if you don't got the ball and you're on the court, but you don't put it in the net, what's the point? And that's where the role of having patient advocacy comes in. And that's why when I work with wealth managers and high-level, you know, advisors, and I give them the awareness of this service, it is a competitive edge at the highest level. Because when their clients come to them and they're like, listen, Bill, I can't deal with my portfolio. I can't deal with this investment strategy. I got A, B, C, or D in my life. I got to deal with this with my spouse. I'm freaking out. I'm not sleeping. That's when the wealth manager needs to say, listen, Jim, look, I got the portfolio. I can get you 9%. I can get you 8%. I know how to handle that stuff, but I don't know anything about this pain and this problem you're having now. But I do know. So you have three options, right? You have three options in these situations. You have a client that comes to you in business, right? I don't care if you're a wealth manager, or you're an executive, or you're a VP, or you're, I don't know, whatever you're doing in the world, you have three options. Someone comes to you with a pain, a problem, a real issue. I mean, real stuff. I'm not talking about like, you know, oh, you know, my kid didn't get into freaking the college you want. I'm talking about like real stuff. Your world's upside down. You know, life happens. The blueprint, the plan is not the way you want it. You have three plays. Play one, sympathetic. Oh, that sucks. Two, you can be empathetic. Listen, I've been there. I understand what you're going through. I feel you. I can relate to it. I went through this with my life, my wife, my husband, my partner, my parents. I've been there. I understand what you're going through. I share, talk to me. I could be there. That's empathy. And that's really what you need to be doing in life. But the third thing is to be empathetic with the solution. Listen, Jim, I've been there. I understand what's going on. I can relate to you, but listen, I can't help you. I don't know what to do, but I do know someone who does. I do know this doctor, you know, Dr. Doorek. I know that, let's connect with him. Maybe he can help guide you through this. That's the power, and that's the competitive edge. That's the differentiator. for the people I share this with. And I'm sharing it with you now, and I'm sharing it with your listeners. It was not something I don't get on the platforms and wave my flag like buy, click, click, click. I don't share this stuff openly like I'm doing now, but this is what I do selectively with people, is I help guide them through a very distorted healthcare system when time matters more than anything. Because what does it matter if you're getting off your private jet in Aspen and you're getting into your Aston Martin and you're having your chef cook you, imported fish from God knows where? It doesn't make a difference if your health is not there, And so it's like, listen, I can't hit the 3-point shot. I don't make homemade gnocchi, and I don't write Japanese haiku, but I'm really good at the stuff I do. And one of the things I do is this, and that's my differentiator. That's what makes me, that's my competitive edge in the world out there, is I'm good at these things. So sorry to get off a little on a tangent, but that's like some high value share, I think, in terms of thinking about healthcare and your experience in healthcare as a patient when you're dealing with real issues, real things like throwdown, like this shit is real. And you're hearing a perspective now from a physician who's been on the boots in the ground, in the trenches for 15 years, and give me the inside scoop on it. You don't hear that every day. It's like, don't tell anyone. I just gave you the inner secret, how it really is played out, how it really goes.
No, I think that's very good. I mean, as a CPA, kind of, I focus more on the accounting, finance side with business owners, and I tell them that, hey, that's an important part of your business. But I would tell anyone, your health is even on a whole nother level of importance. So
100%.
I definitely think that's good.
I mean, and now as a CPA, numbers, math, accounting, and $3.6 trillion a year. $3.6 trillion is spent on healthcare in the States. I mean, where do you sit in that number? I mean, where are you getting your value for that $3.6 trillion? Are you getting the care and service and getting what you need, paying 20-something thousand a year in healthcare insurance for your family or some craziness? So it's a challenge system.
Gotcha.
But that's a value to you, because when you have a client that comes to you and they're asking, Terrell, I'm going through this, I need help. And they're asking for guidance on something outside of the numbers, outside of wealth, outside of CPA. That's trust. That's trust on a level that's like, you just developed rapport that's generational. You have that client for life. You have that client's family for life. And when you start helping people through areas that are outside the scope of your area of expertise, and people come to you for help outside your area of specialty, that's when you have trust of that client at a level that's your differentiator. That's your competitive edge.
Gotcha. Well, Dr. Doorek, I want to be respectful of your time. So I want to say thank you so much for coming on the interview. We'll definitely leave a link so people can see more of the great content like I did that you're posting and the wisdom that you're sharing. So definitely, Dr. Doorek, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Listen, most importantly, and I can only emphasize this now more and more as I get older myself and I come through, go through life's journey. Life is short. Life is really short. And some of the things I pull from, the resources I pull from, has really allowed me to be clear on focus and leaning into your feelings, not running away from them, and being clear that, what we focus on, what we choose in our life, and how we speak to ourselves is really the defining factor. And when we talked about issues to close in terms of diet and health and nutrition, and even, other things we talked about, patient advocacy and real issues, how you converse with yourself is a defining number. So if you're going to say, I'm home and I'm gaining weight and I'm unhappy with my job, change the story, change the script in your head. Instead of saying, why am I gaining weight? Why am I not able to work? Why is my business like this? Change it to, okay, how can I make my business better now? How can I change my dietary choices now? What do I need to do today to make myself feel better physically? Not why is this, why that? So that's like, I'm going to close with you. Just change the conversation within yourself. That's the most important thing I think we all can do to ourselves every day, starting in the morning till we go to sleep at night.
Awesome. Well, definitely again, thank you, Dr. Doorek, for coming on the
My
show,
pleasure.
sharing your insight and wisdom.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.